Hey guys, what is going on? This is Michael, and this is our Dweeb culture review. Over always that to my bottom right, we have Mitch,
Hey guys.
and we also have Cole.
What's going on, guys?
Alrighty. So now that we are done with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, we are moving on. We are keeping it going, and we are doing it with Bad Batch. Now this is a on Disney Plus, and this is a spin-off of Star Wars. I don't know anything about Star Wars, but luckily for me, the two people down here, they know a lot about Star Wars.
Very big
Is it a spin-off of Star Wars or is it Star Wars?
Oh, you guys tell me. I assume this was some type of spin-off.
Well, first of all, shout out to you wanted to use the correct name for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is Captain America and the Winter Soldier, because they retconned that in the last episode.
They did.
But
okay, so it is Captain America and the Winter Soldier now.
But yeah, the Bad Batch is a continuation from the canon animated series called The Clone Wars. And it picks up almost immediately where season 7 of the Clone Wars left off, which we just got last year, and also picks up right after the closing scenes of episode 3 from the prequel trilogy, the conclusion of the prequel trilogy.
Okay, so the conclusion of the prequel trilogy, that would be the latest of the prequels, right? So that's not the original first 3, correct?
No,
that's
what you're saying. No. So this is that's the series that released in the early 2000s. It told about Anakin growing up and Anakin's eventual turn to Darth Vader. So season 7 of the Clone Wars did a very unique thing where they concluded the season by showing the events of episode 3 of Star Wars, the movie. They showed the events of episode 3 from the perspective of characters that were introduced specific in the Clone Wars series. Now, the Bad Batch continues from there. This set of characters was introduced in like a backdoor pilot at the very beginning of season 7 of the Clone Wars last year. So we've
now,
seen
are you talking
before.
about a live action movie? Are you talking about a live action movie or are you talking about an animated movie?
So episode 7 is the live action movie. But the Clone Wars show is an animated show.
So the main characters in Bad Batch are the animated replicas of the live action Bad Batch characters at the end of the Trooper movie.
Close. The Bad Batch characters never have had a live action rendition yet. Instead, the Clone Wars series takes place between episode 2 and episode 3 of Star Wars and the prequel trilogy. And it adds a lot of characters that were not covered in the movies themselves. Now, this is important because these characters were created by George Lucas. They are canon. He had the intention of creating this long series and began it, although sold Lucasfilm to Disney while the show was still going on. So Disney has continued the series. They've kept it canon in their new Star Wars lore. And sorry, hold on for one moment, guys. And now, as a result, instead, we have my apologies, guys. Hold
on. So it seems like
Cole dropped out for us for a moment, guys. He'll join back in momentarily, but
yes. now we can see the widescreen of my room and you can see the TV and the fan. I was trying to knock it off and clear, but of course Cole drops out because this internet, we have to get him better internet. This is not in any case. So we open up the Bad Batch with on so it's called Aftermath. So I'm assuming this is the aftermath of the movie, correct? So, this is what's going to take place after the last movie.
So it specifically is talking about the aftermath as far as the Clone Wars go. So we pick up right when the clones get the Order 66 from Senator Palpatine, aka the Emperor, which is covered in the movie. I don't know if you remember this or not. This is where Yoda, just because he senses a change in the Force, suddenly beheads 2 stormtroopers with a backflip on the Wookiee planet. He's like
'Cause
completely brutal in this one scene, despite the fact that he's all this like peace-loving, Jedi master throughout the rest of the series that he kills just on a whim at the end of episode 3.
That's pretty strong whim.
So
What if he was wrong about that and he just off 2 people for no reason?
yeah, no.
Yoda knows his stuff.
So
He
this
sensed it
series
through the
picks up.
Force.
This series picks up right when that order gets given, and that's what we see. We see the clones take the order from Palpatine, where he says, "Execute Order 66," and then they start turning on the Jedi immediately. Now, you guys, we've not watched this series together, but what's important to note is in this beginning scenes, there is the Jedi Master Depa Billaba, who I believe, Cole, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that's the old Padawan of Mace Windu. And her own Padawan, who is a main character in the Rebels series, which takes place after this. So
okay, which is also an
that's the same
animated
dude.
series.
which is also an animated series. I don't expect to see him again at all. I think this was kind of that one little, feature cameo type appearance. That character,
really?
of course, played by Freddie Prinze Jr.
See, I thought he was
Interesting.
going to be a title character. I thought he was going to be a main character. So when I saw him leave at the end of the episode, I'm like, wait, what? Like that was kind of a pull and rag over my eyes. But I guess the show is called Bad Batch, so I guess I should have seen that coming.
Specifically about the Bad Batch, yeah.
yeah, I guess so. In any case, okay, so we're opening up on the planet, evidently, right before Order 66 gets executed.
Yes.
And what we see is oh, go ahead.
Cool.
Yeah, but in any case, so what we see is them on the planet, and they're trying to get through, and they're killing a bunch of droids, and we see basically, hey, we need reinforcements, and then this group, Clone Force 99, rolls in, and he's like, dude, what's going on? Like, we need reinforcements. There's only like 5 people here. And he's like, no, don't worry about it. And then they go in. Apparently blasters and stuff don't affect them at all. And they just killed everybody and took out like 3 or 4 tanks by pushing them off. And it was actually really cool. It was a cool intro for the group. But I didn't know that was going to be the main characters of the movie.
Well,
the show.
On the mention of blasters, the Clone Wars series and Rebels series really introduced us that armor works when it makes sense for the plot. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So stormtroopers usually take one shot and they're down. However, if it's an important clone or an important Jedi, they'll take a shot to the shoulder and be like, I'm good. I just got to shrug it off for a little bit.
Which also happened later on in the episode.
Yes.
He got shot and he was completely fine. I'm like, dude, I've seen other people get shot and they were down for the count. What's going on here? Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
But so one thing I did notice, so they ordered the Order 66, and again, mind you, everyone who's watching this or anyone who's not watching this, I'm not a big Star Wars person, so they called Order 66. I'm like, wait, what the hell's Order 66? What's going on here? And then I see them start killing the Jedi. Well, okay, my first thought was, why are the Jedi teamed up with Stormtroopers? That doesn't make sense. Stormtroopers are bad, Jedi are good.
Have you not seen the prequels?
I haven't, no.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought
goodness.
maybe you didn't remember them or you weren't a huge fan.
No, I'm the complete layman to all this. I don't know anything. So apparently what I'm gathering is Jedi and Stormtroopers at one point were on the same side.
Yes.
And then Order 66 was called, and now they're not on the same side.
Yeah, so clones are the predecessors to Stormtroopers. The Stormtroopers we know in the original trilogy are not clones. The clones are the soldiers of the Republic. The Republic is secretly under control by the Sith. The Sith Lord, who is the Emperor from the original trilogy, he orders the clones because they were programmed, which you see later on in this episode, they were programmed and built in with programming to follow his commands to a T. He orders them to kill the Jedi at a turning point in this clone war. And that's how episode 3 ends. And we were never given any closure as to what happened to the clones and what happened with this Order 66. If they always were in the know that they were going to turn on the Jedi, or if it was some surface programming, we didn't know that.
So this is super canon revelation right now.
Yes.
This is what happened between then and now, basically.
Yeah, the only thing we had seen beforehand of the clones programming was in the very late seasons of the Clone
Right.
Wars. At the very late season of the Clone Wars, we get some hints with the character Echo, who is a part of the Bad Batch now. He's the cyborg one.
Okay.
Because he starts to go a little crazy because of the programming and his chip going bad. And then in the very last season of the Clone Wars, it shows what happens when the clones are told to order execute 66. And essentially what it is it is a complete brainwashing that takes them over. They don't lose their personality or free will, but they suddenly wholeheartedly believe that the Jedi are the enemy. And it's a very smooth form of brainwashing that takes over. It's not like you're now a mindless robot. And that was really solidified in this episode. This episode is what really showed that the clones are still clones and still have personality, because we see them in the assuming mess hall of whatever their base is. They're getting into a fight. They're still having conversations, but they're talking as if the Jedi really did betray them, when in truth, of course, they betrayed the Jedi.
Okay, so quick question. This is a little bit of side tangent. I've seen like the Force Awakens and the new stuff. Okay, Finn is a stormtrooper. Is he a clone, or is he a separate thing?
No, it's hinted in this episode. But Tarkin, who is the Imperial leader that is from the original Star Wars movie, he runs the Death Star. He comes into Camino and he's interested in shutting down the clone program, and that's in this episode when he starts
I did
to do
see
the
that.
assessments.
Yeah.
So what we know happens between now somehow and the original trilogy is they dispose of the clones and they start to just enlist members of the Empire to become stormtroopers. Now, what happened with Finn, what we saw from the new trilogy, was because the Empire was on the dire straits after being defeated by the rebellion, they began to kidnap children from across the galaxy and brainwash and induct them into becoming their stormtroopers.
But not with any actual chips or anything.
No, and that is not the stormtroopers of the original trilogy. The stormtroopers of the original trilogy are enlistees. They signed up to be a part of the Imperial Army the same way that
they're like militants.
Yeah.
Okay, fair. Okay. So one thing I did notice, as far as literary devices are concerned, I did notice that this was called Clone Force 99, and Order 66 is like the complete brainwashing, like, kill all your enemies. And then 99 is the inverse of that, right? So they used to be, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. They used to be clones or whatever, and then they're the exact opposites of clones because they are free thinkers, and so that's why they're 99. You flip it on its head.
Hey.
I'm like, there you go. There's some of that. So is that Disney, or you said that was George Lucas that did that, right? So that wasn't Disney that did that.
No, Disney did introduce the Bad Batch, but the original series was constructed by George Lucas. This is really the brainchild of Dave Filoni, who is the leader of the Clone Wars, Rebels, and The Mandalorian. And we've seen through The Mandalorian that some of the characters from these animated shows have now had live action appearances, primarily with Ahsoka from the Clone Wars, who's now a real character, as well as some Mandalorian characters also from the Clone Wars. So, it's entirely possible that we do get a live action rendition of the Bad Batch here. So for me with this episode, the main things that were the most captivating was just discovering what happens after Order 66, because we know that in episode 3, the Emperor declares the Republic is now the first galactic empire, which, for those that are fans of the old legends or the books, we know that there actually was another galactic empire at a time. But at the end of episode 3, that becomes a great declaration, and now we're kind of seeing, for those nerds like us that are into Star Wars, and by us I mean, of course, me and Cole this way. It's really interesting to see the formation of the Empire, because already we see that the Empire considers itself a different entity from the Republic. There's that brief conversation between Tarkin and the leader of the Kaminoans, where they like, oh no, our contract's null and void. You had a contract with the Republic. We're the Empire. And they essentially have differentiated themselves as a political entity. They do still keep the Senate. I mean, that the dismantling of the Senate is something that happens in A New Hope in the very beginning after they destroy Alderaan. So it's not a true complete transition to an empire, but this for us, for those of us that are fans of the original trilogy in particular, it's really interesting to see how the empire comes together. And the Bad Batch shows a lot of promise because we are gonna likely see more of these characters like Grand Moff Tarkin and, dare I say, Darth Vader throughout the course of this show, because we get to see the formation of the Empire from the comics and the books that Disney has already released to be a part of their official canon. We know that there's actually a lot of Jedi that survived Order 66. Not all of them. I mean, it's a very small portion considering that there were 10,000 Jedi at the time that Order 66 was issued. But Darth Vader and a series of dark Jedi acolytes essentially hunt down the remaining of the Jedi that survived through Order 66. So I'm curious because the Bad Batch can go a couple ways. They didn't really show through this episode and episode 2, which we're both going to talk about. They didn't really hint as to the general direction that the Bad Batch will go. It seems like they're just trying to find somewhere safe right now because they know that the Empire's after them. But they could become kind of foundational members of the Rebel Alliance, or they could maybe get tied into trying to protect Jedi. Who really knows? A lot of interesting things happening.
Yeah, I have a question, Mitch. So I did not watch all of the Clone Wars. I just watched all the movies and read a bunch of books, and played Battlefront, which is all about the 501st. Are they in the Clone Wars?
So just to clarify, Cole's asking if the 501st is in the Clone Wars because we're getting a little bit of bad reception from him.
So yes, if I remember correctly, I'll pull this up.
First platoon.
Yeah, so the 501st. Jeez, no, I'm sorry. So the 501st is Vader's fist, and they are stormtroopers that are loyal to him. In the Clone War, we do see several different clone troopers, and it really follows, I can't even remember what order they were a part of, but it really follows one pair of rookies as the main series of clones that we follow and that we get attached to. That's who Echo is from. That Echo is a part of this original set of clone rookies that get followed through the Clone Wars series, and he's kind of the continuation of the clones that we were already attached to from the Clone Wars, and then now with the Bad Batch. I mean, it's important to remember the Bad Batch was just introduced last year. I mean, they did a very back end, it was
just kind of thrown on there.
Series premiere, kind of. There's one episode where Anakin runs into the Bad Batch, and they're this elite series of mutant clones, and then they're not really a character the rest of the series. But that's what this stems from. There's a lot of interesting ways they could go with this. I think that they want this to be a story that is detached from the Jedi, very similar to how the Mandalorian is pretty detached from the Jedi.
Yeah.
Because I think Star Wars has a problem with being too attached to the Jedi as a story device. It sets up this universe that's massive, and Jedi are supposedly rare, and yet every main character is a Jedi. So,
well, to be fair, I mean, I'm not super well versed on the Star Wars universe, but yeah, for me, when I think Star Wars, it's obviously Jedi and the Sith. Like that's the main thing I think of.
Well, know that we will have Sith because they've not made any Star Wars properties without Sith. Well, I guess except The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian has not yet had a Sith. But, Vader is in almost every Star Wars movie. The only one he's not in is Solo.
Anyway, so getting back to the episode. So we do see them. So I have in my notes here, and forgive me for this, but I have my notes here. Apparently they were on Camino, but before I realized they were on a place called Camino, I wrote Death Star? Question mark. Is this the Death Star? Like, where are we right
Not
now?
yet. A little early for that. A little early for that.
No. They're building it right now, Michael. They're building it. So we might see that in Bad Batch too.
Oh, that'd be cool. Like, kind of see the building
Yeah.
of the Death Star. That'd be kind of cool.
Well, we did kind of see that in Rogue One. I'd be surprised if they went that far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're on Camino, and we learn a little bit more about these guys. Their names are Wrecker, Hunter, Echo, Tech, and Crosshair. Their names are pretty
indicative of what their specialty is.
What their specialties are, except for Echo. I'm not 100% sure what Echo's specialty is.
It's not. It's just the original group that he was a part of used Greek letters as a part of their names.
Okay.
And he's the late add-on to the Bad Batch. The original Bad Batch didn't have Echo, so it was just Hunter, Wrecker, Crosshair, Tech, and then Echo's added in as an additional member.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
so they do get tests. So you had what was it? Some general. Who was the general that came in that wanted to test out the Bad Batch?
So that's Tarkin, and he's going to be the major villain of this first season. He is the leader of the Death Star in the very first Star Wars movie, who gets killed when it explodes.
Okay, got it. So he's
Tarkin.
So he's the one that's kind of leading the fight to see whether or not they want to move away from clones.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. In any case, so he wanted to test out the Bad Batch, and they put him on this training program, what it looks like for troops and whatnot. And then they wanted to introduce live rounds to see how they would do. And that was a pretty solid scene. I actually kind of liked that. And then their weapons were completely rendered useless against now the live robots. Yeah. So you got to see a little bit of how they perform in impromptu situations. And in that scenario, he got hit with a live round. Wrecker did, and he was fine.
I said, lasers are 100% kill rate unless they don't need to be for story reasons.
Unless they aren't.
Yeah, unless they aren't.
And then later in the second episode, he bashes and knocks out 3 stormtroopers with their helmets on.
So let's not do any spoilers. So we will be forthright. So we did watch the second episode because it came out right before we recorded this. But we won't give any spoilers for the second episode. This will just be a review of the first episode, and then we'll do another second episode right after this. But yeah, so we get introduced to the character Omega, and Omega seems to be a clone, kind of defective clone, just like the other ones. But she also has powers, and she's introduced as the scientific aid helper, as like the medical assistant type of person. Do you guys know about Omega at all? Is she canon?
So she is canon, but she's just introduced in this episode. It's the first we've seen of her. Mm-hmm. It's clear that they refer to themselves like defective clones, but it's made clear in this episode that their mutations were designed. They were designed to have the mutations that they did, and presumably Omega as well. Now, all of them have mutations that give them advantage. Wrecker has added strength and durability. Hunter has enhanced senses. Tech has enhanced intelligence. Crosshair has enhanced accuracy. Echo is a robot, or a cyborg, whatever. Does it actually say what Omega's strength is yet?
No, they haven't gotten to it. All we know is that she has. So they kind of hinted at it when she was inside of the prison, right? That she's like an empath, right? She can sense areas. Because she told the main guy, I can't remember his name, but Hunter not to come back here, right? So, and she's like, what is she talking about? And then I think it was Tech or somebody that was like, she's also a clone, which means she might have enhanced, like, kind of empathic, kind of like almost hinting at psychic abilities, something like that, maybe. I don't know.
Well, that would be definitely an interesting route if they made her a force sensitive clone.
Yeah, it was a very quick, almost a throwaway line, but she's like, what? I think it was Tech that said, if she is a clone like us, it stands to reason that she has something enhanced, and she might be able to pick up on people's emotions and things like that, which is about to prepare for her. So I think that might be her gift.
We'll see. We'll see. They'll definitely show more, I'm sure.
Yeah. And then later on in the episode, it's also revealed that Crosshair, surprise, surprise, so I can't really blame Crosshair for turning because he got reprogrammed. So it wasn't really within his own bounds that he was having tensions before that with Hunter. Like obviously they were striving for that alpha male character. But the reprogramming definitely didn't help the situation.
So they don't ever really explain why Order 66 doesn't work on them. It's tech that says, well, it's probably because of our mutations. But what it sounds like, at least from what I picked up on, it sounds like, while it didn't have the full effect on Crosshair specifically, the Order 66 did seem to have some effect, and that they strengthen its effect on him when they capture him. Or not capture him, but when he joins up with Tarkin. Right. So yes, he is kind of enhanced in his brainwashing, but they foreshadowed this immediately by making him the dissident amongst the group that was saying, no, these are orders, we have to be a good soldier. And it's hinted at, well, actually it's not even hinted at, it's expressly said, the Bad Batch are not good soldiers. And in the original episode that it first introduces them back to the Clone Wars, that's their whole thing. They're kind of renegades, do their own thing. They're a team of 4 or 5, and they get the job done. But they're like a special recon Navy SEALs unit. They're not part of your standard infantry. And Crosshair's turns on them. And I think Crosshair is going to play a significant role throughout the season.
Definitely. He's probably going to be like the main antagonist. Maybe not the main overarching villain, but definitely the main antagonist.
I'll be curious if he has to get taken out or if they manage to save him. I'll be curious as to that.
So one issue I did have with the whole Order 66, like we're
trying to save him.
Yeah, well, one issue I had with the whole Order 66 thing was technically the Bad Batch was never given Order 66, and if they were given Order 66, they didn't know what it was. So my question was, why was Crosshair so intent on doing Order 66? He wasn't given Order 66, and they didn't know what it was until, they could piece it together because they started murdering the Jedi in front of them, but they never knew what Order 66 was.
I don't know that they have to hear Order 66 said from the Emperor. It could just be they have to hear the words Order 66, in which they did hear the words Order 66.
So pre-programmed in their brain, they already have 66.
The moment Order 66 is said, boom, they kick in and they start to kill the Jedi.
Okay. So I guess that makes sense as to why Crosshair was like, nah, this is an order. We need to follow this. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Yeah, so then so we move on, and Crosshair ends up being evil, and all of a sudden the Bad Batch have a kid that they're taking care of at the end of the episode.
Which, you know what? I understand why they did this. They wanted to introduce a new character. I imagine that we're going to see something wild with Omega. I didn't pick up on her possibly being an empath, but if that's true, this is the Star Wars universe. If that's true, then that's hinting at her having Force sensitive abilities, which would be
right.
Really,
so maybe
really
she's a Jedi super clone. Is that what they're leaning towards here?
It would be very interesting if that was the case. I don't know. I'm going to hold my thoughts on that until we see more, but definitely she's going to have some sort of specialization. It's just I feel like leaving her as just the kid character that's there for, come on, guys, we can do it. I think that's going to be uninteresting and not holding of an audience. This is a really bold move for Disney because they are betting an entire series, presumably more than one season, on characters that we don't know and don't already love. And Disney usually likes to play this safe. I mean, if you look at the Clone Wars, they introduce Ahsoka, who becomes a very beloved character. And Michael, because you didn't see the Clone Wars, Ahsoka is Anakin's Padawan. Pre-Vader, he takes a Jedi Padawan. and she becomes a major character that even makes a live action appearance in The Mandalorian.
Oh, okay, cool.
But she didn't start out as an interesting character. For the audience, she's introduced, but the main characters are Obi-Wan and Anakin, so you already have that connection. In Rebels, they introduce a new character as well, but the character's a Jedi, so it's something we're familiar with, and it falls into that same sort of groove. And they very quickly introduce characters that we do know, such as Vader and Ahsoka, right away. The Bad Batch takes a series of mutant clones, and it bets on the audience actually caring about the clone characters. And really, they don't. Not really. I mean, there's only really one clone character that has held any sort of resonance with the audience by and large, which is Captain
Hunter.
Rex. No. Captain Rex from the Clone Wars. And he
Oh,
carries on to be a major character through the Clone Wars and Rebels. Hunter does definitely seem to be the lead of this team and the main character they're trying to focus on. I liked the characters of the Bad Batch that they introduced. They definitely have a unique sort of Ninja Turtle relationship with each other, which I kind of like. They all have their own speciality, but they're all very similar, and they make that team dynamic. I don't know. I got major Ninja Turtle vibes from this show.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Which I like. I think that's good and that's promising. One episode in is not enough for me to really care. So like when they did the whole, crosshairs turned on us, it wasn't like anything really impactful.
Shocking.
Like, all right, I just met this character. Okay, whatever. It didn't have that like end of the season twist that they could have had with it.
Well, it was kind of obvious that they just needed to set up the backstory. They wanted Crosshair to be the villain, but they needed to set up the backstory that Crosshair used to be on the team, right? Mm-hmm. They needed the backstory that they know him intimately, and so that's the dynamic that they wanted to go with.
He's a good character for them to turn to a villain because his abilities make him particularly dangerous.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Sniper man.
Mm-hmm. And he's presumably deadly accurate with every type of weapon, even though he uses a sniper rifle. It's gonna make him one of the more dangerous characters to face in any combat scenes that they have coming up.
At the end of the episode, they say that they're on their way to go see a friend. They're all deserters now, essentially, and they say a friend. They say J19. So when I heard that they were on their way to see a friend, I was thinking it was that Jedi that came up at the very beginning, that Padawan Jedi.
I was sure thinking it was something more interesting than this other one-off spin-off character that they had from the previous season of Clone Wars.
Well, no, we're no spoilers. We're not saying anything about where they actually go. Okay. But so I was thinking that they were going to go see this Jedi. And if you want to see who they actually saw, you're gonna have to stay tuned and turn on to the next episode that we're doing. We're gonna do a Dweeb Culture review of the episode 2 right after this. So you can stay tuned for that.
I will have my internet fixed by then. Rest assured. Thanks for having me on, guys.
confidence from Cole. Anyway, guys. So wrap up. Final thoughts. What do we think? Did we think it was interesting? Are we looking forward to where it's going? Is this the way you kind of thought it was turning out to be?
What about you, Cole?
Well, I'm super bummed that my internet has been really messed up. Sorry about that, guys, because I am a total Star Wars nerd, and I would have said stuff like, "Oh yeah, Omega is like a Force-sensitive clone and all that." so many things. Talking about the books, talking about the movies. Could have clarified. I have a chalkboard here for you, Michael, to clarify the timelines in the movies.
All right, so Cole is breaking out. So we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to Mitch right now because Cole's breaking up right now. But he is excited. He's doing a lot of hand gestures. If you're not watching him,
so yeah,
the podcast.
Cole's a very diehard Star Wars fan. I am as well. I think he has a more foundational knowledge of Star Wars than I do. I think I'm the most familiar with Dave Filoni's universe in particular, which this is a part of the animated series universe. I know Cole's interested with this show moving forward. I am too. I think that
Mm-hmm.
I think that well, how should I put this? I hope that it does more in the upcoming episodes to really connect the audience with the characters, because while they do have an interesting dynamic, they're new. And if they want to center the show on a loyalty to the characters and a care for the plight and strife and individual struggles of each character, they have to first develop that connection from the audience to the characters, and they haven't done that yet. You know, they've definitely made Hunter kind of the leader. He's definitely likable. You know, even when they have scenes where there's some disconnect between Crosshair and Hunter, you know, Hunter's very understanding, even in the face of Crosshair being, you know, not very understanding and kind of a jerk in how he talks to him.
Yeah.
And those small sort of communications between him and the other members does make him likable. But, you know, this is Star Wars. A large part of this goes to, you know, how cool does the character look? And the Bad Batch look ridiculous. I mean, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure we'll like them more. Their armor's cool compared to Clone War characters, but long hair Rambo clone looks stupid. I don't know what to tell you. I don't like it. He's the main
All right.
character
All
I
right.
know. He has a knife and a blaster, and he actually takes the time to close distance on enemies armed with guns to hit them with the knife when he should just be blasting them. Okay, I
All right.
imagine I did actually like the action scenes that they had in this episode, but they seem to be going too hard in on the Rambo aspect of him, and I hope they build him more to be a unique representation and not just a knockoff Rambo.
Yeah, so hopefully they will kind of focus on the story a little bit more and give him a little bit more tools to use at his disposal, think with his brain a little bit
Make
more
him
and
more
less with just
unique. Yeah,
his
it's
wolf
more
and
unique.
yeah. Fair
Yeah.
enough. Coming from a layman, I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was entertaining. I didn't mind it so much. I mean, I didn't know very much anything going into this. I didn't know Order 66 was a thing across Star Wars that everybody knew. I'm like, oh, that's funny. 66 upside down turns to 99. Then like, you know, that's where my brain went with it. I didn't know that it was this whole thing. But it was entertaining from a layman's point of view. I feel like I didn't need to know all that in order to get into the story. I feel
Yeah.
like you guys knew a lot and you're kind of expecting a lot, but since I'm not that knowledgeable in it, I'm kind of just going along for the ride so I can see it with a fresh pair of eyes. And it's not bad. It's entertaining right now. Like as far as the story goes, I don't mind the characters. I think it's interesting. Wrecker's kind of the big goof, like the big Drax
Yes.
character, big fun, you know. And Hunter's like the begrudging dad that can you know slit somebody's throat if he needs to. But yeah, so I'm interested to see kind of how this thing plays out a little bit more. I want to see. I don't know about. I'm still unsure about the Omega character. I know. I think Mitch, you're right. I would like her to be more adding to the group than just you know a little girl or just you know somebody for them to take care of. So we can see in the future how that plays out. And maybe you know I'm sure they're going to do a thing where Hunter becomes more of like a father figure and learns you know what true love for a daughter is, and then she's gonna you know take some qualities from him too. They're probably going to rub off on each other.
They can definitely do it wrong, but they can do it right too. You know,
They can.
it's the if they added the Omega character only to be a child's voice because
A counterbalance in a world of like war,
well,
essentially.
sometimes shows do this where they add in a child character because they think that that's the only character that young viewers can identify with. If they did that, then I think that the character is going to be wasted because we've seen already with other animated series that you don't need those characters, that the
Yeah.
audience can still identify with the show, with the Mandalorian. You know, the Mandalorian is very popular with children right now, and it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
need a young child character they have the
Yeah.
child, of course, but that's not a character
Well,
that the
also the
audience
whole thing's
identifies with.
animated. Also, the whole thing's animated, right? So you're kind of already cutting off a portion of your population and heading it just toward kids anyway.
Yes. But if they do something cool with Omega and make her a unique character in and of herself, I think it can be executed fine. But if she's only there to be like, okay, so that the audience can identify with the child perspective, then I think
Yeah.
it'll go to waste. So we'll see. We'll see. It's
Well,
doable.
we'll see what happens. All right.
We'll see.
Anyway, guys, thank you so
Hey.
much. Thank you very much for
Mhm.
watching. Really appreciate it. I know this one went on for a little bit longer than we thought, but it was an hour and a half almost episode. So you guys are getting your money's worth. Stick around. We are going to get right into episode 2, and we're going to see what happens in there. And anyway, thanks so much for watching. Really appreciate it. And as always, live long and may the force be with you.
All
Later,
right.
guys.